This is the first game I ever made. I made it something like 5 years ago, and it's not very good. But in last week's video, I worked on improving that game and made it something that is much better. If you haven't watched that video, make sure to go check it out. But it still has quite a few flaws, and in today's video, I'm going to be working on fixing those flaws, making the game better, and having a lot of fun. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you watched the video all the way through. It would help me out a lot, and enjoy the video. The first problem I decided to fix was that taking damage did not feel impactful enough. In a lot of games, when taking damage, you stop for a second, and you can't control your character at all, which makes it have a lot more impact, and that's what I decided to do for this game. Here's a before and after for when you take damage. You may not notice it much, but when I was playing it, it felt a lot more impactful, and I noticed way more when I was taking damage. Another thing that frustrated me a lot was that you could not jump. In real life, you can jump. At least I'm pretty sure. Here, let me check. Yeah, you can jump. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So, yeah, you can jump in real life, and you can't jump in this game. And when you can't do something in a game that you can do in real life, it makes the game much less fun to play. So, time to add jumping. But adding jumping turned out to be a lot harder than I thought it would. I needed to completely rewrite the code for the player movement script to use a completely different APIs for moving around. The current API I was using was completely different than what I'm used to using for player movement, so I didn't know how to add jumping. I tried playing around with it for a little while, but I just couldn't figure out how to do it. So I needed to alter the entire player movement to use the API I'm used to using instead of the API I was currently using. And as you can tell by the time-lapse that's still going, I took a really long time doing this. And because of it, I got really frustrated. It took me well over an hour to do, and it wasn't very pleasant at all. But anyway, I've rambled on for too long about this. Here's the player movement. You can jump now. Yay! And now, time for another problem that I was having. There was only one level in the game. A lot of games have multiple levels, including Super Mario Bros. Check my video where I made it in 24 hours, by the way. And my game had only one level. And it wasn't even all that good of a level, it just had a few pillars, which were completely useless because the enemies could shoot through them due to a bug I had in the game. But bugs aside, let's take a look at the level that I made. It actually looks pretty decent, especially for it being the first level that I made. But currently, it served no purpose, and I wanted to change that. I wanted a bunch of Fred enemies to spawn all over the map, and you had to blow up a certain amount of them to advance to the next level. And, as you might expect because I'm really predictable, I did start working on it. First, I worked on the Freds spawning in predetermined locations. Because of the layout of the arena, I couldn't just spawn them all randomly all over the map. So, to compensate for that, I need to make them spawn in predetermined locations. And that was done pretty quickly, and then for the next thing I need to do, a spawn warning. Currently the enemies would just pop up in front of you if you were staring at them when they spawned, and I wanted something a bit better looking than that. And better looking I did make it. Now, instead of jarring, it actually looks pretty cool when an enemy spawns right in front of you. So now with level 1 done, I need to actually make some objectives for the level. I wanted to have 3 types of levels. The first type of level would have a bunch of Freds spawning, and you would have to blow up a certain amount of them to advance to the next level. That was the objective that level 1 was going to have. The other 2 objectives that I could think of were there were switches in the level, and you had to press all of them to advance to the next level. And then finally, a level with pre-spawned Freds, and you had to blow up all of them to advance. After writing some code to make the level objectives show at the start of the level, this is what it looks like. It doesn't look all that bad. I think it looks pretty good. I want the game to look simple but pretty good, and I think this fit in pretty well. And then after writing a bit more code, I needed to start work on the teleporter. It would bring you to the next level, and it would only show up once you had completed the level objective. And to be honest, it looks pretty good, especially when you realize it's just made from cubes that are rotated and given certain colors. I also used some effects to make the cubes glow, and since glowing stuff looks like light, and us humans like light, the teleporter looks fairly good. However, When completing the level objective, the teleporter just popped up with no animation, and since that's not what we see in real life, us humans do not like it. Fortunately, us humans aren't too picky of how it pops up, so I just made the cubes pop out of the ground, and that fixed the problem pretty well. After typing some code in the millionth time-lapse of this video, here's what the teleporter looks like. The glowy things make it look really good, and although it's just a few cubes that when you touch them, it opens up a screen that lets you go to the next level, it works out pretty well. Of course, the teleporter couldn't lead anywhere without a next level for it to lead to. So I started making level 2. As I mentioned previously in this video, this level was going to be a switch level. You would have to press all of the switches to advance to the next level. You would have to fight some pre-spawned enemies in order to advance to the next section so you could press all of the switches and eventually get to the place with the teleporter. I did this so that you didn't completely speedrun through the level and just rush through it because I wanted you to have a little bit of fun blowing up all of the enemies. This type of level is much better than the level like level 1 is because it forces you to move around a lot and not just stay in the same place constantly and doing practically nothing except blowing up them. And blowing them up is totally fine and all, but moving around is very fun too. I started off with making the switches, and as you can tell from the background footage, it didn't go very well. But quickly recovering from that, I finished making the switches, and they worked well. Now, I need to program in the door that would only open if you had blown up all of the enemies in the area. I called them Fred doors because the enemies are called Freds. As with most things I think aren't going to take much time, it did take a lot of time, mostly due to my coding mistakes and the fact that I'm just an overall potato head. But eventually, I was able to program it in, and it makes for some pretty fun levels. The next level I wanted to work on was level 3. Level 3 was going to be the third type of level, which was the level where there are a bunch of pre-spawned Freds and you would have to blow all of them up in order to complete the level. I was working on it and it was going very smoothly until for some reason the level just got deleted. I have no idea what happened, but it happened and it removed any hope of me having a fourth level. You see, I have been working on the game quite late into the week, and since I try to upload weekly, you should subscribe for that by the way, and I hadn't even started making the video itself yet, I didn't really have much time left to add anything more to my game except for level 3. I couldn't even make it all that good, which was frustrating for me, but I'll probably work more on this game in the future. And you know what? You should subscribe. Accidental level deletions aside, making the level was going pretty well. Here's what the level looked like when I was working on it. It has a lot of Freds, it looks pretty cool, and it worked out pretty well for how little time I had. And about 30 minutes after this footage was recorded, the level is done. Here's the gameplay for the level. It's pretty fun, and if you end up playing it yourself, I think you'll have quite a lot of fun with it. And now, as my last act for making the game in this video, I need to change the title screen of my game to reflect on what I did to it. It used to just say Zapfred, along with the subtitle, an upgrade in my first ever game. And now, it said Zapfred 2, an upgrade of my first ever game. Now, after building the game using my auto builder from Unity that I made myself, link in the description, wink wink, I could finally say that I was done. If you want to download it, there's a link in the description. Also in the description is a link to a sale for my game, Ascent. It's a rocket runner, and it's very fun, and it's 50% off for a week. So, if you want to support me, consider getting it. I had a lot of fun making it, and hopefully you'll have a lot of fun playing it. But that's enough for me. If you see this, thanks for watching to the end. Remember to leave a like and subscribe, and yeah, that's it for me. See ya.